Good morning, viewers, wherever you are. We are about to start. The initial time was 10 just thought of giving it a few more minutes for others to join. Meeting yacho lero za Malawi Stock Exchange many stock markets products Malawi Stock Exchange. Now, ababa fund full mudali 1 million lelo. Please confirm if you are able to hear me. You can do a thumbs up or just comment if you are able to hear me. So start with this explanation. If you had 1 million to invest, not spend it on yourself, what would you invest in and invest in? Please proceed to type in the chat box. We know that you are short way so that people will be walk into where you are and ask why you are shouting. So today's presentation will focus on the contests that have been displayed here. We'll talk about define the stock market, functions of the stock market, roles of the stock market, talk about what the share is and why companies sell shares, the process of buying and selling shares, benefits of investing in shares, what moves the stock price. I know people are always excited. Today on fire. So tikambapo share prices move zikwera kumatsika. Then chili chose even muntu akamaka umagumana ninjuji so my investment money na so we talk about risks of investing in the stock market. Then tibereka chithunzi cha makampani stock exchange inundine tingathe kupanga investing. Then tizakambapo za members in case anthu ena sakuziwa kuti mashares kuti makula bwanji. For anthu ena amatha kubwera straight ku Malawi Stock Exchange kuti timakomana nazo bwera kuti ndabwera kuzagula mashare. Nde tikambapo za members amene ali ma stock brokers omwe ntchito yawo kuthandiza inu ndine kugula ndi kugulisa mashares. So what is the stock market? A stock market is a market where people buy and sell shares of companies. Think of it like any other market. The only difference between a market like Tsoga market in Lilongwe, Limbi market, Blanda market is that products that are sold on the Malawi Stock Exchange are different from those that are sold in our ordinary markets, like it is where they sell on batatas. So stock market, think of it like a big supermarket, but the products that are sold there are companies. So nisigoma company. And my example again, kumalawi kuno ndi Malawi Stock Exchange, timamvapo za New York Stock Exchange, neighbor wa Zambia huku kuli Lusaka Stock Exchange, ku Tanzania ali ndi Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. Ntchito za ma stock exchange ndi chani? So in English we say, what are the functions of the stock exchange? Number one is to provide market activity. So market activities, we facilitate the trading and capital raising. By trading, maripoti achatematulusa data anthu mmakhala mukuona cha company yakuti is on fire, maemo chamatuluka amene pacha apa ndapanga ndrama zimene zazo zimatheka fika choti kuli Malawi government inapanga establish the Malawi Stock Exchange cholinga chona kuti ino ndine zitha kugula ndi kugulisa ma shares athu. Ngani ya capital raising, ma companies imene ndikupasani information kuti tifuna ya ujenisero yawo ya MTL. Kuonapo FDH inabwerapo ndi cautionary yawo kuti afuna kugula banki ina mu Africa muno chamusadiki muno mu Africa muno afuna kuti nawo banki ija ikule kuchokera maboundaries za Malawi kuti ikhalenso across like mene anachitira mabanks ena nawo National Bank ili ku Tanzania, na FNB Capital Holdings awa ali mabanki ku Botswana, Zimbabwe. So ifeyo timanena kuti azitulusa information according to marules amene tili nawo pa Malawi Stock Exchange. Just like mene uli nsika mu capital blanter market ali samagulisa mo zinthu kuti amapanga follow malamulo ansika kuti mwapeza amalipira pali malamulo ake amene amasatira. So mukamaitenga stock market, think of it like any other market. Only the big supermarket ngoti product magulisidwa amene momo ndi makampani. We also regulate conduct ya brokers athu timayenera kuti chilichonse chimene akupanga is in the best interest of my clients. So mukapeza kuti brokers mukapita kwa broker kuti mugule share pa 1 kwacha, beza kuti broker uja wakugulirani pa 2 kwacha. Inuyo musanamuvuze musanampase mphamvu zotero sizimatheka. So pali malamulo ake amene mabrokers amapanga follow amene so inuyo so mumayenera kuti ani amene amapanga follow based on my regulation set by the Malawi Stock Exchange in Malawi. We also monitor market activities to prevent insider trading and manipulation and ensuring that we are promoting fair and transparent trading. So zonsezi zimakhala kunena kuti tipanga protect anthu kuti maziwa kuti panopa zinthu zinasintha. Kumakhala munthu wina kuti wapeza information ya company. Remember kuti ife timapanga regulate ma companies aja kuti azitulusa information. Upeza munthu wina wake wapeza information yoti sinatuluke ndikugula mwenje zimene zimatchedwa inside trading. Zimene zandizolesedwa anthu ndithu amamangidwa. So as my functions at Malawi Stock Exchange, nena kuti pali providing the platform for trading and selling and capital raising of companies, and we also provide we regulate the listed companies, the brokers, and on top of that, to promote transparent and fair trading, we also monitor, we do market surveillance to ensure that no one is manipulating the prices of the companies that are trading on the stock market, and also to ensure that we prevent insider trading. Now, why is it that the government thought of coming up with stock market in Malawi, like the Malawi Stock Exchange? You find that the roles of the stock market across the globe are the same. Number one, economic growth. How does the stock market play this role? We ensure that the savings that we have are put into productive investments. A good example given about the Branta Hotel project. Anthu ambirimbiri amene amaseva ndalama zawo through mobile money on Mpamba, Airtel money, they are able to invest in Blanta hotels for them to finish the project in Mililonga. So you can see in terms of economic growth, that project Panoba Yabangaso even reduced. We had resulted in job creation in that Kulima laborers, both are temporary and permanent ones that are working on the project. And in that way, you see kuti infrastructure development ikuchitika so kumalawo. Pa golf course palilongwe tinalibe hotel kumalawo kunoko yomwe inali pa golf course. I'm not trying to market the company, but I'm trying to emphasize point ya economic growth. So you can see that this will be the first of its kind to have a hotel on the golf course. The other thing is you've heard about the government borrowing issues of stock exchange and parima bonds. Malawi treasury notes. Amena issued by Malawi government. Some of the money people that have traveled on the M1. You've seen there is rehabilitation that is happening. There is also in the pipeline rehabilitation of the M5 road. Dramas measures raised through the capital market by the government to ensure that they are able to improve the roads. And a good example is the rehabilitation of the M1 and M5 roads. Amenity tinaona interchange. Interchange, that money was raised through the capital market through NBS Bank and extended to Roads Authority for the construction of the interchange. So you can see how the stock market has helped mobilize savings and productive investments. The other one is on wealth redistribution. You see that in about 2020, we listed Airtel. We also listed FDH Bank. What has happened there? You'll find that at first, FDH Bank was owned by a very few investors. And FDH Bank anali ochepa. Koma chifukwa choti inabwera pa stock market, anthu ambiri anapanga nawo invest mu FDH Bank, mu Airtel Malawi PLC. By the end of the day, you see kuti anthu panopa apeza ndrama nawo chochulukirapo kuposera zimene anali nazo pachiyambi. Choti ngati munthu unali pa ntchito ngati mene ndilili ine pano, nane ndagulako nayo ma-shares mu Airtel or FDH, mupeza kuti chuma changa tachulukirapo. I've got two sources now of income through investment imene ndinayo mu company amene ali listed pa stock exchange and my salary. The other role of the stock exchange is to offer alternative investment products. By this, we say we are used to the traditional banking, where we put money into our savings account and earn interest over time. But the investment in the stock market gives us investing public. I'm allowed to say, why audit is invest in my products, and apart from just my products, I mean, I'm going to offer them my banks. Now, going forward, what is a share? A share, I think of, we have gone to a birthday party. We have got a cake. Yeah, pa cake pachema bidwa mapisi. Kwa mama peza kuti mwini wako birthday ujama sungidwa bepisi nake ya iku. So mukamaganiza kuti a share, when you think of a share, think of it as a small piece of a company. So owning a share means that you're owning part of the company. Whether ukapita ku birthday ujakupasa keke kasalesi kakang'ono akupasa wina wachinga chachikulu, mwapeza kuti peza kuti nonse mwajako keke licha andi njala yanu imakhala yachepa ndi mmene mwadyerera keke ichi. So a good example is when you own 10 shares of Airtel, it means that you own a small part of Airtel. You find kuti munthu wina ali ndi 100 shares. So according to even law, you are all treated the same. So whenever you hear about a share, think of it as a small piece of a cake. But in this case, because per stock market we trade companies, it's a market for companies. That share is a representation of ownership, part ownership in that particular company. Just like an Hama Village Bank, ali someone the share and the share yanga, December on the card share. The only difference between the stock companies. So good in this sigurodi na kuti iyi banga majuwa ngati mene mabangira drama mu fixed deposit or mene mabangira antu kama Village Bank. Companies are there in continuity. Muntu ukafuna kuti utuluke mu, that's why mapeza ma shares akupanga trade day. Akamapanga trade day, so the company jema kai kugulisa so ma share. Koma amakhala kuti anthu amene analimo akugulisa ma shares ndi anthu ena amene afuna alowe mu so mu company. Anthu so amene afuna kuonjezera amathaso kugula so ma shares. Now, chimene chimapangisa chani kuti ma company agulise ma shares pa stock market. Number one, as to why companies sell shares, to raise money for business growth. Example, the Janapereka Blanda Hotels in December, they issued what you call rights issue. Anabwesa ma shares ena pa market, ndicholinga chote amalizise project yawo yakuliro. Ukapeza kuti kubwera imene nabwera imene pajapa. Apart from company chakupanga raise ndrama, inaperekaso mwayi kwa Malawi kuti athe kupanga invest mu productive investment, which is the hotel. Pama mukati muone so bazimwejo kupeza kuti munthu kuti wambo kuganiza kuti umange hotel sungapeze ndrama pakamozi kuti umange hotel mene ili Blanda Hotels yakulilongo. So government for coming up with the stock market inapete pasa ife mwayi onena kuti tizitha kupanga raise into my productive investments ngati amene. The other thing is companies come to raise capital per stock market to raise cheap capital as opposed to borrowing from banks. Historically, investment on the stock market has proven to be the cheapest source of capital, raising capital for business growth. A good example, Blanda Hotels, it managed to raise 62.4 billion at 4.6%. TNM, this is also in the public domain. Inabanga issue for cash. Yeah, Gulisa so pereka shares ena to the market, and they managed to raise 30 billion at 1.6%. So you can compare against the rest that are available with the bank. So you can see our aim is not to compete with the banks, but to offer alternatives. We complement each other. Number three, to give the public a chance to invest in profitable business. And hamena napanga invest in my company mena mapanga list for stock market atawekera maomboni. Yes, pali ma risks ajana na kuti kamba po kusogolo. Koma nkhani ndiona kuti timing ya my investments imene maendera. So apa timwe mafuna nene kuchambira ndiona kuti kukupasani zifuka zimene ma companies amabwera pa market. Mwina madaba kuti company ngobwera kupanga raise chifuka chani chimene amabwerera. Zifuka zake zina zimene zimabwera ma company kuti apanga raise drama pa stock market ndi zimene. Now, tamva zifuka zimene ma company amabwera pa stock market to raise capital. Fuso limakhala no kuti kodi ndati ndifuna ndigule nthakugula bwanji. ngati ndigulise nthakugula sabwanji fuwa timakumana nazo anthu amapezeka kuti anagula ma shares lese atine mu 2008 ndamadikirabe kuti azamveso pa wireless kuti company yakuti tiyene mwije kubweranso kuzagulisa so ma shares company chikapanga lezi maujeni pali njira imene munthu umasata kuti ugule kapena kugulisa ma shares. Now choyambira chimakhala you identify a broker, a stock broker. A stock broker ali ndi license, amapasidwa license kuti azipanga operate pa nkhani ya kugula ndi kugulisa ma shares on behalf of my customers. My customers ndi inu ndi ine. Sikuti kuti ukhale customer wina yake ngati sanagule ma shares atakusanduka customer wa broker pa nthawi iliyonse imene pa munthu wafuna kuti agule ma shares. Ukafika kwa broker kuja amakupasa ma forms, umafira ma form kuti akusegulira account ngati mene timapangira atosa amene ndi experience osegula ma account ndi ma bank. The only difference is pa stock broking account yomwe timati investment account palibepo book balance. Utakusegula account lero kaya uzamba kugula ma shares in 100 years zimenezo ndi zanu. Komano uziwe kuti ngati sikugula lerolo uzamba kugula in 100 years itapeza kuti mitengo ya share amene company imene mafuna kugula ija yakwera. Ndipo muzapezeka kuti mukugula pa mtengo okolerapo. Mukasegula account ndi broker uja mumapangano chisankho cha ma shares amene mufuna kugula. Osamadandaula kuti ine za ma shares sine maziziwa. Ntchito ya ma brokers iwa ali ndi ma employees awo amene so ali licensed ndi a registrar of financial institutions amene ali governor ali Reserve Bank. Ntchito yawo ndi kupereka uphungu wa ulere. So mungapeza kuti broker kuza noma ndipeza mufuna kuziwa za ma shares then kuti ndikufotokozereni lipitirani one tamba uphungu osewo umaulandira ulere. So amakuuzani mene makampani akupangira perform kuti inuyo mupange no decision as to which shares to buy. Mukakhala kuti mwasankha mene paja mupafira timati buy order form. Ndiye kuti mukateno mupanga deposit ndrama zokwanira ma shares amene akugulireniyo. Mwachisanzo Airtel ili pa 135. Ndiye kuti ngati mufuna kugula share imodzi ningoti mwachisanzo mupanga deposit 135 kwacha ija plus commission imene broker amakucharge. For broker pamene amapangira ndrama ndi pa nthawi imene akukugulirani apo ikukugulisirani. And commission iyo inapangidwa seti ndi Malawi Stock Exchange. Ndiye sikuti mukapita kwa broker oyamba akakuza nese kuti mwapita broker A kuti pa 135 kwacha imene mufuna kugula akucharge ni 2 kwacha wina akakupita broker B akucharge 1 kwacha ose ma fees awo ndi ofanana and anapangidwa state by Malawi Stock Exchange. So mukafira ujeni chankupanga deposit mpeza kuti broker uja akutanini akugulirani ma shares. Now for your information mumazanira kuti nanga ma fees ndi bwanji. Pa transaction iliyonse yoyambira 1 tambala sinonena kuti pali share yoti ilipo ya 1 tambala pano patilibe share ya 1 tambala koma kungoambira 1 tambala mpaka 50,000 kwacha broker amakucharge ni 2%. Pa ndrama yoyambira 50,001 to 100,000 broker uja amakucharge ni 1.5%. Pa ndrama ya above 100,000 broker amacharge 1.5%. So mwachisanzo mukufuna kugula ma shares a 100 kwacha broker akucharge ni 2% of 100 kwacha. Sikuti akhala kuti akuigawa kuti mpaka ujene because mukupanga for bracket yachani ya 1 to 50,000. Akakoteno broker uja akapezera kugulirani ma shares aja amakutumizirani contract note and panopa Malawi Stock Exchange kwambira 2018 tinapanga automate trading platform. Ndapa paso nikupezerapo mwayenga muli ndi abale amene ali akusungira ma physical certificate mwauze kuti atha kupanga engage any of the brokers kuti asinthe ma share certificates awo kuti akhale in electronic form for safe custody and popangiranso kuti pa nthawi imene angazafune kugulisa azagulise mosavuta. Otherwise akakhala ndi physical certificate kupita kwa broker akagulisa izatengako nthawi kuti broker uchazayeneka kuti physical certificate ayipange turn into electronic form. So pano patapanga move ngati mene tinamuvira mene ma banks anaendera kale lija tinkamva kuti anthu amapita post office kupanga deposit ndrama ndikabuku adindire mbuku koma panopo munthu kupanga deposit ndrama kutembeno ukafuna kuona statement yako umaona pa phone olomatha kupita ku bank mfana tione balance yanga ndi ngatiso zimene zinachitika no stock market panopa. So ngati pale abale ena tipezerepo mwayi amene ali ndi ma physical certificate apange ni encourage kuti apange visit any of the stock brokers akapange turn certificate into electronic form and zimene zozo ndi zaulere. Now munthu wapanga invest in ma share chopangira invest in ma share ndi chani. Why do people invest in shares? So from this slide and the next slide, I think we'll focus on benefits of investing in shares. Number 1 is capital gain. There's a concept of buying low, and so this slide is just giving you an illustration I'm focusing on somebody who had 200,000 on 1st January 2021. If they invested in Airtel, the price on 1st January was at 27.98. So akanatha kugula about 7,147 shares. I know ena mutawanena kuti 200,000 ndi salary yanga. Iyi 200,000 ndangoyika. Komabe inuyo ungana kama 27 kwacha 98. Unganatha kugula 1 share ya Airtel. So kutengera price imene ayendera kuchokera pa 1 January 2021 kuzafika pa 30 July 2025 lomwe lili dzulo. Mtengo wa Airtel uchokwera kufika pa 135 kwacha. So kwa munthu amene anapanga invest 200,000 mpeza kuti ndalama yakeja yakula kufika pa chani 965,202. Return yake ndi 383. Kwa munthu amene anali ndi 27 kwacha 98 and anagula Airtel uja, mtengo wake wakwera, ndalama yake yachoka pa 27 ili ino pa 135 and return yake ndi chimozimozi. So you can see kuti kukula kwa ndalama kukutengera ndi ma shares amene unali nawo. Zimene zonse zikupanga apply konse pika kuti chimozimozi pa FDH amene anali 1445 pano pa ujana yake yakwera yafika pa chani, yafika pa 3,550. Waniko yachoka pa 52 kufika 994, mlingo wa kukwera ndi 1,813. Anali National Bank wachoka pa 650 kufika pa 6,505, mlingo wa kukwera ndi 901. Komana papa ndimangotenga kuti kwa munthu amene akanali ndika 200,000 ndekuti mukuona kuti anapanga invest 200,000 mu January 2021 kufika pa 30 July 2025 drama kejo mlingo wa kukwera wake ndikuti ndikumene. So number one benefit of investing in shares is the capital gain. So you always buy low and sell high. So mukamaona ma fluctuations akuchitika jamzingo zo kuti ali samena kugula wena kugulisa pa nthawi imene akupanga phindu. Pitirirabe chachiwiri makhala dividend income. Dividend income is the share of company's profits. Mene anthu amakhale ama village bank. Anthu amatenga poti maloni kamafika chaka chikamatha amawerengera ndalama zonse then my interest amene mwapanga cha mmagawana. Ichimozimozi zimene zimachitika ma company when they are operating every day target yao ndi yani kupanga ma profits. When they make the profits they distribute them. Now if zina limene manena zina lina la kugawana kwa profit mangoti dividend income. China so ndichoti ma shares mutagwirisa ntchito ngati chikole pobwereka ngongole kuma companies amene amapereka ngongole. Sinafuna kungotchula mapango kwa pa makampani ambiri kuli ma microfinance amaperekesa ngongole. So mutagwirisa ntchito ma shares anu ngati chikole. The shares can also be used to diversify your portfolio risk. We always say kuti anthu sunganyamule mazira anu onse mu basket imodzi. Kungoti ungopunthwa pansewu kugwa. Ma chances ona kuti mazira osatha kusweka makhala ochuluka. Koma mukayika maujeni osiyana opeza kuti pokugwa pacho wagwako bwino. Ina yasweka, ina atapeza kuti wapulumusako ena. So ndikati apapa kuti ndipange emphasize ya diversification ndikubwereraso ku slide ija mupeza kuti Airtel ili mu telecommunication sector. FDH banking sector, Nico financial services sector, National Bank is also in the banking sector. So assuming kuti munthu anali ndalama zoti wapanga ka 200,000 kana ndalama zingati wagula ma shares ama company osiyana ngati mene ndangopangira illustrate apa mupeza kuti phindu lake likhala losiyana. Yeah, mukuona phindu lake likhala losiyana. Assuming kuti munthu anagula 1 share mu Airtel, 1 share mu FDH, 1 share mu Nico, muona kuti phindu limene walipeza lukhala losiyana pa period yofanana. So nkhani yake ndi chimozimozi imene tikutani tikukamba pa ya managing ya portfolio kuti muzipanga diversify your portfolio. By diversify ndina kuti kupanga invest mu makampani oti akupanga operate ma sectors osiyana. Chinaso chimene lili phindu la pa stock market liquidity. Ma shares amene ali traded listed pa stock exchange. Sika stock exchange open trades daily from Monday to Friday. Unlike makampani amene amakhala kuti munthu wapanga invest a private kuti ine ndikuyamba ka company kanga ndikaukala kanga that's private kuti munthu atulukemo amatimayeneka kuti umuvutika kuti upeze munthu wina oti agule ma shares ako acha. Unlike ma companies amene ali listed pa stock exchange dot but what point in a time munthu funa ndalama utakubwera kuzagulisa ma shares. Tikupitirira, now we want to focus on what moves the share price. Anthu timangodaba kuti ma slide apa timagamba kuti Airtel inali pa 27.98 pano 135, FDH 14.45 pano 5.27, Nico 52 pano 9.94, National Bank 650 pano 6505 chimene chimapangisa ndi chani kuti mitengo izisuntha chonchi. So number one, tima company performance and news. Pa company performance timakhala kuti munthu kupanga compare company yo lese FDH choyika chaka chathu yapanga perform bwanji, phindu lake nalo lochuluka. Umaona chaka chino phindu lake ndi lochuluka bwanji, likukhala likukwera kapena likhala likutsika. So ino ndine mutha kukhulupirira kuti pamene ukuona kuti phindu likumakhala likuchuluka year on year, anthu ambiri amachifuna chinthu chicha. Example yomwe ikubwera kuti ndimaziwa kuti anthu ambiri akupanga kuli ma Avon products, I think ndaku South Africa. Anthu ambiri ambakhala kupanga phindu to the extent kuti anthu ambiri mukati muone business imene alowamo. Chifukwa chani? Alisa kuona kuti business iyi muli phindu. Awana kuti aneba apanga bwanji, aneba kupanga izi. Tika makola amene timakhala mopeza kuti aneba apanga invest akupanga ka business akamuli kakoneka kuti kaphindu. Alisa amapeza kuti chani walowamo. Chimozi zimene zimachitika makampani ali pachani ali pa stock market. So yeni yawo tukakhala profitability chikukwera, anthu amaziwa kuti ndi kuti dividend income so ikhala kutani ikukwera. So anthu akamapeza kuti dividend income ikhala ikukwera, anthu ena akafuna agule umakhala kuti mtengo chaso makani umakhala kusunda. Kwa hiyo ngati ine ndikugulisa company yoti ikhala ikupereka dividend, ndikuyeneka kuti company ndakhala nayo zaka zonsezi ndikupaka uzafika siku la lero tifuna pereke dividend. Koma ndikagulisa lero dividend ujasindilandira nawo umamuyipanga factor ini mu mtengo wako ugulisira uja. Kwa hiyo iweyo dividend ije kuperekedwa kwa maprofit nthawi imene anyengo amene onali shareholder koma atalandire ndi amene atagule lero loyo. Kwa hiyo dividend jepekedwa tsogolo. So pa news poso pali nkhani zimene munaona kuti ma news mumakhala mukutuluka ma profit warning pande ma trading statement zimene zonso zimakhala kuperekano kuunikira anthu kuti mmene company ikuoneka kuti ipangira perform. And zimene zonso mukachiona the part of my regulation, but one of the functions of stock market is to ensure that they are regulating my companies. My stock prices and companies, they thrive on information. So that information is supposed to be made public for people to make informed decision. That's why my profit warning statement, announcements, my dividend notices, my company declare, I think most recently NBS declare final dividend, my shareholders go GM and atutu saso news. Zimene zijazo zimapangisa kuti mtengo wa share usunte. Then pali market news and global trends. Market news is kumakama hype based on company performance. Muntu umafuna kumapa kumakama stakeholder engagements amene ma companies amapangisa mwina before AGM. Kumene kuchaka makhala kufotokoza mmene company apangira perform ndi mmene akuchionera chitsogolo. So zimene zijazo zimapangisa anthu namba kuganiza kuti kodi company imene is it worth investing in? But ganizo zimene anthu akupanga sikuti umakhala kuti iwe pamene kuganiza ngati potential invest kumakhaso anthu ma potential investors so behind the scenes amene akuganizaso kuti company imene ndingapanga invest in ndi mmene market ikuonekeramo sector imene ikuoneka kuti itapanga perform oposa sector ina ndi iti. So munthu choma zitenga zimene zimene wazimverera upita kaya kwa broker kaya kwa utapanga analyze upanga research yako upanga analysis yako upanga decision yoti ndigule share yako. So ziwiri zimene company performance, market news and global trends zimezote zimapanga trigger no yani demand and supply dynamics pa stock market. So nthawi nake mukaona kuti mashare kugwa wantamba anthu makhala pa social media paja muka Facebook page pa pamene madibanga follow pamakhala ma comments tikatulusa report ya mene sikoyendera siku limene yakuti is on fire yakuti yagwa zimakhala nkhani zake zochitika zitizo zimene zizi kuti company ikupanga perform bwanji. So pa news pompo pamakhala mafusa anthu amafusa what has happened to Standard Bank. Mafusa amene wanabwera kwambiri pa 21 July kunali stock split. So mamene tuena kuti ma market news and global trends Standard Bank atakhala kuunikira anazaona ngati stock price yawo siku trader ikuoneka ngati kantengo mwina kakwererako kuposa mapezedwa anthu ambiri. That's why anapanga stock split yoti inavomezedwa ndi ma shareholders ndimene inazapanga lizati kuti mtengo chona khanga twatsika. Ndicho linga choti apereke mwayi kwa Malawi ndi ana aliyonse kwambiri tinene kuti tupanga focus na Malawi koma stock market ndi awina aliyese kuti athe kukwanisa kugula ma shares ake. Koma mpeza kuti kwa ma existing shareholders maja zi share price jena sintha kuchoka pa 12,050 kwacha kupika pa 2,410 value yawo sina sintha. Chifukwa choti mukaona mtengo uja wakhanga kuti wapangidwa divide by 5 kuchoka pa 12,050 kufika pa 2,410. So kusika kwa mwezi mwena sika ndi 5 uje ndi winapangira divide tagawa uje ni mtengo unali wapa 18 uje ndi 5 uje. Ma shareholders analandirano ma shares ena to the extent kuti value yawo sinasinthe. So assuming kuti munthu unali ndi 1 share, yet and value yako inali 12,050 kwacha, stock split chinachitika ija yasisa mtengo uja ndi 5 kufika pa 2,400. Umbali kwinako apa ndikuwalandira ma shares ena 5. So mukaona kuti mukatenga ma shares amene walandira 5 aja mukapanga multiply by 2,410 mpeza kuti value yake kumabwererabe kuchani ku 12,050 kwacha ngati mene analili pa 18. So sikuti ma shareholders aluzapo kalikonse ayi, andirapo ma shares ena and value ya ma shares yawo has remained the same. Now takamba za mmene uchi umakomera nanga njuchi zija zimatitumira pati. So the major risk of investing per stock market is the price. Prices may fall, resulting in loss. So loss imabwera bwanji pamene munthu waganiza kuti unagula lese pa 2 kwacha and then for whatever my factors ndakamba ambiri bilachitika mwina mtengo wasika to 1 kwacha 50 ukaganiza kuti ugulise ndekuti you're going to suffer a loss. Komabe munthu umayenera kuona. That's why investing in stock market mana kuti is for long term. Koma we have to emphasize with the risk many makam market and the risk mkazayiona it also excites the market. Ma moves the jamava bull market, bear market kani yake nditiyo dimene based on performance and ma market dynamics here. Watu kamba za demand and supply ndizimene zimapangisa kuti price ija izithayi kutani ikukwera ndi kutsika. So the greatest risk ya investment ya stock market the price and you can manage it. For every risk kama factors mitigating factors amene ungapange munthu take into account to manage that risk. So chimene ndimafuna kuti ndikuwuzeni kuti pa kukoma kwa zonse chimene chili cho risk yayikulu pa stock market investment the price risk. So and that amene matisatira pa social media mukamankhula yakuti yasika anthu apaluza apa akwera timaona kuti ka excitement wa high mabwera koma nkhani yayikulu yoti muziziwa kuti the greatest risk of investing in stock market is the price. Now apa ndati ndikutengeni pa list ya ma companies amene ali listed pa stock exchange. Tindi Nico Holdings, tindi National Bank, Standard Bank, Icon Properties, Pico, Sunbed, TNM, FMB Capital Holdings, NITL PLC, Irovo Sugar, Old Mutual uju ali listed pa stock exchange. So Old Mutual wa Malawi, the parent company imene ili registered ku South Africa, is the holding company that is listed. We have got NBS Bank, Airtel Malawi PLC, Blantyre Hotels, the owners of Lions Hotel, Press Corporation Limited PLC, and the FDH Bank. Now in terms of my members, kuti anthu muthamaka mafunso kuti kodi anthu amene amathandiza kugula ma shares ndi ati. We have got Stock Brokers Malawi Limited, they are on ground floor NBM Towers. Then we have got Cedar Capital, they are on fourth floor Livingstone Towers, and Continental Cap, they are on ground floor Olim House. So all these brokers are currently based in Blantyre, but are in Nima footprints. Ngada national stock brokers ama use ma branches za National Bank, Cedar Continental Capital, ama use ma branches za CDH Investment Bank. Cedar Capital is independent of any bank in Malawi, so our reach out there on the also my brokers also in terms of reaching them out. You can reach them by phone, email, or email. Now, how can you start? What are the tips for investing in the stock market? I know at mabwera kuti nkuluja makamba za 200,000 in salary yanga ndi 200,000 even less, or mapezedo wanga ndi 200,000 even less. When you want to start investing, always start small. With whatever amount that you have, you can start investing. And the minimum number of shares that one can buy is 1 share. In terms of the value, it depends. Because if I take you up, slide you will not go to Airtel. Currently is at 135 as of Zuro. FDH 527, Nico 994, National Bank is currently at 6505. So I've got Blantyre Hotels currently trading at about 14.70. So you can always start small. So good broker will return you for bringing in 100 kwacha to invest in a stock. No, you can always start small. Number 2, these are some of the tips. They are not conclusive. Tips avoid the hype and or hearsay. Stock market moves with fundamentals. Follow the fundamentals. Hype makalabo. And we'll say, it's true, I'm a drama. But the rule of thumb of investing in the stock market is a minimum of 5 years, because any shortfalls, the price risks that I was talking about, are wiped out. All the negatives, the downswings, are wiped up over time. So always starts, but anything that can happen in the short term. We have seen and invest with us, but hype up IPO company let's say meaning Kabwera started at 2 kwacha. The first few months of trading in Africa as high as 4 kwacha. Those things happen. Okay, but when you're investing, think of the long term. Number 3, diversify your investment. Magamba whenever return in there. Yeah. Same amount, you see, returns over same period, more siana. That's the beauty of diversifying your portfolio. So if find good return yani machuruka kwa mbili kusiana good yani, ubange invest company most. Don't ignore fundamentals. This one is highlighting the point of avoiding the hype or hearsay. Yes, you hear people talking about how they have made money. People are making money. It's true. But always do your research. When doing your research, you always take into account the fundamentals of the market and the performance of the companies. You don't need to be dolo wa zamasam. Nchido yama brokers. And the stock market is there to make your money grow and make your money work for you. Umapita kwa brokers, they'll give you advice for free. You invest, you lay back, you continue with your day-to-day business whilst your money is growing. Don't try to time the market. You see, people are making money, yes, but you cannot time the market. All right? Even if I go back to that, there's a lot that happened in between. But because none of the investors that are enjoying the benefits, time the market, they are very happy. They are very happy. And always think long term. I've said the minimum that strategically one can invest in the stock market is a minimum of 5 years. A good example is during COVID. You remember around 2019, 2020, there was the world was hit by COVID. Yeah. Now that also emphasized point diversification risk, your investment. I'll focus on companies that are in the hospitality industry and those in telecoms. In Malawi, I think there was a point where the government said gathering should not be of more than 50 people. Now, come to think of Sunbed, Planta Hotels, the owners of Lios. There was no business for them. Come to think of companies in the telecommunication sector, where people were working from home. We could not visit even our neighbors for fear of catching COVID, right? So, people were able to buy airtime just to make sure that they're able to check on their relatives. What happened by the end of the day? Companies in the telecom sector made more money, okay, than those in hospitality industry, because those in hospitality industry, business was not there. People were not supposed to gather more than 50, I think, at one point. So those are the things that you need to be considering whenever you're making a stock market investment. I think at this point, I should give you some key takeaways on what we have presented so far. So when you hear about the stock market, think of it as a market for company. Stock market is synonymous to company ownership. The stock market helps you grow your money and the economy. A good example is where we're seeing NBS. NBS started as a new building society, turned into a commercial bank. Within 2.5 years, it listed on the stock exchange, okay, at 2.60. People invested at that time, and look where it is today. Airtel came to the market at 12.69. Look where it is today. TNM came at 2 kwacha. Look at where it is today. Investing in shares offers returns via dividends and price gains. Now, for price gains, I want you by the end of this presentation to always have at the back of your mind the concept of buy low and sell high. It does not make any sense whenever they just see that the price has dropped either by one tambara, then your BB should be raised. Say, oh, no, I'm going to suffer loss. No. Do your research. Follow the fundamentals. Engage the brokers, the fund managers. They'll give you advice so that you always ensure to buy low and sell high. Always start small. The 200,000 example that I gave should not scare you. You can start with as little as you can, but stay consistent. I'll give you a very practical example. 120,000 might be too much for somebody. But if you see that you are able to invest, let's say, 10,000 monthly, you find that by the end of the year, you have invested 120,000 and your investment will be far much higher than any other investment that is out there. So start small, stay consistent, and always learn. Hear what people are saying. Engage brokers, and you'll be able to make informed decision, and you will never regret investing on the stock market. So always learn, stay consistent, start small, and avoid speculation. Focus on fundamentals. Very important. I cannot overemphasize this point. It's very, very important. And we're in the era of social media. There are a lot of are talking about the investments. There are a lot of testimonies. They are true. Many of them might be true, but always follow fundamentals. Avoid speculation, because you can never time the stock market. So at this point, we'll take up some questions, comments from our dear audience. And thank you for being an attentive. We don't take it for granted. Mary, I've got my colleague with me who is going to facilitate the Q&A. So we open the floor for Q&A. All right. When it comes to, there's a question as to why we need stock brokers. Whenever you want to invest on the stock market. Each and every market has got, the way the stock market is set up, you need to go through, not go direct to the stock exchange. Remember, I was talking about planter market or like any other market where we just walk in and then we buy. You find people they're available to sell you the shares. No, it's quite different in terms of operational structure, because these are financial instruments which are regulated by the registrar of financial institutions, who happens to be the governor of the Reserve Bank. So the way it's set up, the buying and selling is through stock brokers. However, there is a development that is happening. As I said, we are automated. So we are also coming up with a mobile trading platform, which is going to accord you an opportunity to trade the shares at the comfort of your home. But the broker cannot be taken out of the picture when it comes to buying and selling. Even in the US, there are brokers. Only that people, maybe I'll give an example, FX Pro, it's a broker. It's quite common. I think if you go even on your smartphones, you go in your Play Store, you download FX Pro, you find that it's there. It's an application, more or less like the one that the exchange wants to introduce on the market. The only difference is that the one that Malawi Stock Exchange is intending to introduce will be owned by the stock exchange. Whilst in other markets, the brokers, the individual brokers, they have their own mobile trading applications. All right, in terms of, there's another question in the chat. I think somebody's asking if there are brokers in Lilongwe. As I said, all the brokers are based in Blantyre. However, you can reach them out either through phone. I know they take even orders through WhatsApp. They'll send you the account opening forms. You send them, you can send them through email. So that's how you can reach them out. But they are all physically in Blantyre. There's another one. I think people are requesting for contacts for brokers. We'll share a link. My colleague is going to share a link in the chat. However, just to also mention that they are available on our website, mse.co.mw, but my colleague is going to send a link where you have the contacts for the blockers. Someone was following up, I think, a question on the stock split that happened on Standard Bank. Saying after the split of Standard Bank, how can you update your stocks? That was already done. That's why we say when you invest in the stock market, you let your money work for you. No hassles for you to say, how am I going to increase? That was already done by the company. Standard Bank did that to us. There's another one, I think, on deal notes, saying how do you check deal notes without having to always ask for the blockers? I think that one should say brokers, the contract notes are supposed to be issued within 24 hours. That's part of the regulation from trading. Whenever they have bought you shares, they're supposed to send you within 24 hours. However, we've noted that concern, I think, even from our page, people always complain that they're not getting feedback from their brokers whenever they have bought their shares. So that's something that as Malawi Stock Exchange, we're going to sit down with our brokers to ensure that there's efficiency when it comes to service delivery. That has been taken note. We have taken note of that, and we are always in touch with our brokers on the same. There's another question. What happens when your broker goes out of business? I think that one is very practical. With the automation, all shares are in what we call a central security depository sitting at the Reserve Bank. Why am I mentioning it? I want to give the comfort of all the people that bought shares post automation of the trading platform on the exchange. And the fact that we had one broker which ceased operation, which is Alliance Stock Brokers Limited. All the people that bought shares through Alliance Stock Brokers Limited have their holdings still intact. I think you can be engaging the stock exchange or any of the brokers for guidance, but to give the comfort to the investing public is that we, as Malawi Stock Exchange, remember we're the frontline regulator, we sat down, then distributed all the clients, including their hosts, to the remaining 3 brokers. So all the clients that had shares with Alliance Stock Brokers should be confident that all their shares are intact and distributed to the remaining shareholders. However, if there is somebody who was a client for Alliance Stock Brokers and is on the chat, or you want to ask on behalf of or somebody that you know, please provide us with your details in the chat and take it up. And then after this call, we should be able to give you the contact of your new broker. So simply put, your holdings, whenever a stockbroker ceases operations, are intact. It does not affect your holding. They are always safe. That's the beauty about the automation. Is it possible to change the ownership of your share from person 1 to 2? The law allows that, but it can only be between blood relations or between a legal entity and an individual. I can transfer my ownership to my mother, my brother, my siblings, or any relation, my spouse, but there is need for me to provide proof that the X is my spouse. So a marriage certificate will assist in that case. For siblings, birth certificates. For a company, I need to show that I own that company. If it's a company or a partnership, and I want to use my shares as part of my capital into that business, then the board resolution to that effect should be provided to the stockbroker to transfer. So in terms of transferring, yes, it's possible, but it's limited to blood relations. There's another one. Nowadays, I am just trying to read it out for the benefit of others, in case others might want to ask the same. Nowadays, brokers often take an excessive amount of time to provide feedback or execute share purchases on behalf of clients. What role does the MSC play in ensuring that brokers operate efficiently and in a timely manner? As I said earlier, I think one of the functions of the stock exchange is make sure that we regulate our brokers, and we always take investing public seriously, and any complaint lodged, we always investigate to ensure that the market is quite efficient and transparent. So in terms of contract notes, whenever a broker has bought your shares, issue a contract note within 24 hours. That's according to the regulation. But there could be times that they are delayed. And as I said, I think to the area question that was also asked, we'll keep on engaging the brokers. We are engaging. We always get the same sentiments from the investing public through our social media, and we're engaging the brokers as well. There's another question. What other features are you planning to implement to involve people open their own accounts online? We have got the mobile trading platform. Once it goes live, it would have gone live last year, but we're working on it, and we're hoping that by the end of Q3, by this year, we should be able to go live. So you'll be able to open your own account, and then you'll be able to trade online. That is in the pipeline. And that on first stage. Palifusolina, kodi ni ndalama zingati zimafunika pa stock market? Limene talipeza funso limene latipeza kuchokera pa Facebook. Nde mundilole ndibwerere pa ma slides amene ndimayangaja. In terms of drama, it varies from price ya stock. Ngati apapa makampani amene ndinangotengapo maona kuti as of dzulo Airtel pa 135 kwacha. So chimene ndinganene pa ndalama imatengera mtengo wa company imene ufuna munthu pange invest. Koma the minimum number of shares that one can buy is 1. Zero. Palifusolina from Facebook. When and how can you sell your shares? Selling our shares is the same as buying. It's a decision imene munthu umapanga weka. So you can decide lero kuti ndifuna ndikulise ma shares. Now chimene ndingakuze nenjona kuti pali lamulo la kunkhani ya misonkho. Ukagula ma shares ndikugulisa within 12 months, assuming wagula January 2025 ufuna ugulise lero. For example, jana pereka pa slide yanga ija kuti wagula, assuming kuti wagula January 2025 ufuna ugulise lero, mpeza kuti ngati mtengo wako era ama kucharge capital gains on the gain at a rate of 30%. Koma example jana pereka ija for 2021 kuzafika pompeza kuti 12 months ija inadusa, ndoti ndrama yonse imene wagulisira imakhala yawo. So in terms of time when to sell, it's all up to you as an investor. Palibe amene angakuze kuti lero ndegulisa. Ayi. There's another question in the chat. Are there any new companies that will be listed on MSC in the near future? We're hoping, that's why we are here. As part of our job is to make sure that we have more companies listing on the stock exchange. And just to give you some comfort, we have got more platforms, the Oceana, of course. I mean, also this wouldn't be in detail because this webinar was for my investors. So Tinindi is in the incubation program where we're taking through small and medium enterprise companies that are capable of raising company shares on the stock market. We are facilitating their readiness to list on the stock exchange. So we should expect companies to list in the near future, in the short to medium term. And then was and ambiri makampani amakauta kumana ndira ku makampani ambiri kuti apange list. So amakhala kuti anthu aja kugwira ntchito ku bank kupeza kuti atipeza kuti ife tikufuna tipange list kaya mawa. Nanga sisi kuti apange list amatenga kuti tipange book kuti tipange ndira company yakoti. Ngati mene timapangira anthu mu church mwakwade umapita kukalembesa kena kama nena kuti weekend yakuti kuli ukwati wa akuti, weekend inayo kuli ukwati wa akuti. Ndizo zimene timapangira ne makampani. So pani makampani ambiri amene akusonyeza chidwi chawo choti afuna kupanga list pa stock market, koma silinganene kuti ni makampani awa pa nthawi ino. Baliso Fusolina, apart from a due note, is there any other way of checking your shares like we do in checking bank balance? You can engage your broker through WhatsApp, phone. You have a statement yani, because my shares anu aja ndanaona they're in electronic form. So just the way we do with banks, you can check with the brokers. Komanso china chonde ndikuuze kuli ma developments zimene ndanena kuti paja kuli Central Security Depository yomwe ndi ku RBM. They are also working on what we call a portal, online platform that will give you access as an individual to check my shares anu without engaging the broker. So my developments amene ali pipeline ndipo zikhazi kuteka chapopa. Another question, why can't bloggers use methods of buying shares as we did with Blunder? They're giving an example, Airtel Money and Mba. Imeneyo, you should know, I might have mentioned that happened for stock market, but the Malawi Stock Exchange procured a mobile trading platform that is going to go live this year. So issue imeneyo niona kuti kuzera and magulidwe ake azitheka Bamba or Airtel Money, in short, ni kuti kha available pa ma smartphones and ma phone athu amabatani achama use USSD. So zimene zozo ndizoona kuti zili pipeline and pompano mukha mukuziwisidwa kuti zayamba kutheka. There's another question. May you provide clarification on three options for services be chosen by a client in terms of conditions of document? Amene apempeko awakisa alwesha kuti apange clarify bwino jene yawo kuti tithekwa yankha bwino anafusafusa limeneyo kuti adipange so rephrase kuti mina ndingamve bwino because apo wakuika ma terms and conditions like three options for services to be chosen. Awakisa alwesha ngati mukutimva, I think mupange ko rephrase fuso lanu no kuti tithekwa kuyankhani bwino. Ena fusa, we will share the presentation after this journey. I think the presentation is going to be shared. Sakuti, how can one track his or her shares bought via Airtel Money on Pamba, bought during IPO, like we did with Airtel? All right, that's a question from Facebook. Mina mafusa fuso limeneyo chonde mutipase ma contacts anu kwa Facebook mo mutakututumizira ku inbox ya Facebook page ya Malawi Stock Exchange, mutipase ma details anu kuti tikuchekere ndikupaseni. Kwa joti maoje no samena nakula mpamba jene amakha sign kwa blog ngati mukumbukira amene blog amene munasankha ndi kuti mutakumpanga engage blogger koma mutakutipasa maoje nanu kuti tikuthandizeni kumene ma shares anu ali kuti ani ndi blogger ani ndi Sida Continental kapena stock brokers mungotipasa information yanu kuti tikuchekereni. How can one who is outside of Malawi be able to invest? What are the channels in place that the brokers can receive? Place that the brokers to receive the communication. I think mention investments. All right, that question is from Gilbert Onyolo. Thanks for that question. Those who are in diaspora are encouraged to invest. The fact that you are outside, you're in diaspora, does not mean we don't have a chance to invest per stock market. As I said, in terms of reaching out, you can reach out on any of the brokers through email, phone. By phone, meaning you can call, you can either contact them on WhatsApp, because that's also a mode of communication. Once you open an account, you fill the account opening forms, then you'll be able to deposit funds for them to buy you the shares. So I note that most people that are in diaspora, they have got bank accounts in Malawi, so you can transfer your money so that they can invest on your behalf. For foreigners as well, it does happen, they do invest, but they have to comply with the exchange control requirements. But for us, those of you in diaspora, you can also engage the brokers through email or phone number. As I said, my colleague, I think, has provided the link in the chat. I think it should be pinned if possible so that people can be able to engage the brokers. Somebody just said, wow, the tax is high. Tax on capital gains is 30%. Yes, it could be on the high side, but the whole essence is to encourage long-term investment. I remember I emphasized that investment on the stock market is for the long term. So the whole purpose of introducing that tax in other markets, in fact, it doesn't matter whether you have invested for 6 years, the tax is still there. But in Malawi, it's only for if you buy and sell within 12 months, you pay that capital gains tax. But if you want to beat that tax, then sell after 12 months. There's another question. Is there a fixed rate on the dividends? The answer is no. Companies, when they are coming to the stock market, they issue what we call a prospectus. We, in that process, state the dividend policy. The dividend policy, simply put, kungonena mosavuta. Niona kuti ndi policy imene mana kuti pa profit imene tingapanga, shomi tapanga profit mwakuti, maximum imene tingapereke ndi percentage mwakuti. So company itha kunena kuima nena imene mwapanga sipireti kuti we pay maybe 50% of after tax profits. That means that's the maximum, but they can choose to pay 10% and they will give reasons. Because when you're investing in the companies, you are one of the shareholders, you are the owners of the company. So companies ambiri akamapanga invest for them to sustain themselves, maybe they want to grow their business, but by growing their business, they don't want to go to a bank and borrow, come back to shareholders to pump in money. They want to retain some of the profits to grow the business. So those could be reasons. I mean, the company up to 50% the stated policy dividend. However, so that's how I can answer. So it varies from company to company. Company one can have a dividend policy of 50%, another one could have 100%. So it varies from company to company. And information in prospectus. So prospectus yo mutagibeza through either my bloggers or on the Malawi Stock Exchange website. Okay, from Facebook, tiniwafusa ngapo. But Fusuramba, my bloggers azafunika, so when you bring the market online, the answer simply yes, they are always there. What happens? But sikuti muzapanga trading at minimum mapanga trade manual panoba kuti mutenga drama mapanga deposit matumizire deposit wanga order no. Muzipanga deposit drama into the broker's account, then you'll be able, your mobile wallet on the trading platform, on the mobile application will be credited, and then you should be able to buy and sell. So my brokers ufunika, yes, kuliko segment marketing yose my brokers amafunika. Only kuti pa mobile app muzakamwanga trading you direct without physically visiting the broker. What happens when the company is completely shut down? There are procedures. There are procedures for companies to close shop. So the Companies Act, the rule of the land minimum bank govern my company, takes effect in terms of providing my procedures. Many companies nga kalile ifuna kuti it's again. The companies that were scheduled to be listed under the integration program this year still going ahead, and when? Yes, the companies that are under Nzinga are going to graduate this year. Then the market is going to be informed as to when they are listing on the stock market. However, you should know that the program is there. It's here to stay, and then to ensure that we are providing the much needed technical expertise to the companies, the SMEs that are capable of listing on the Malawi Stock Exchange. Can you increase your number of shares in a company when you already bought some initially? Yes. That's why the market trades every day. Remember I said, start small, be consistent. You can be buying shares in different companies whenever you want. How are the unlisted funds? How are the invested funds safeguarded in the hands of the bloggers? There's a regulation. Remember, the Malawi Stock Exchange, the bloggers, all financial institutions, including the banks, the way our money is safe with the banks is the same way the money that you invest in the stock market is with the brokers. That's the simple answer that I can give. We are all licensed by the Registrar of Financial Institutions, and there are rules. The brokers, when it comes to buying and selling, you don't deposit into their operation account. They maintain a separate account specifically for client funds. So your money is safe. You can deposit today for them to buy you shares, and then in the afternoon, you decide not to buy the shares. You can go back to the brokers and withdraw your money. They'll give you back your money without any charge. So that's how safe your money is. I'm checking with my colleagues if you have got any other questions. Okay, there's another question. You're requesting for a practical example where a company shut down. The company did not necessarily shut down, but it delisted from the stock market. And the company, I'll give you one example. We have got Brigham Insurance Company. It was once listed on the stock exchange, but because of the changes in the regulatory requirement in the insurance industry, they needed heavy capitalization. That was the reason. And the procedures as stipulated under the Companies Act were followed, and the company called for an EGM because it cannot just delist. You need to engage the shareholders. We agreed on the delisting price. So the existing shareholders were paid their money according to their shareholding at the agreed price. So the agreed price was not agreed on individual investors, but across, it was applying across, just the way when a dividend is paid. When they say we're paying a dividend of 1 kwacha, it does not matter whether you've got 1 share or somebody has got 1 billion shares, you all receive the dividend per share. So that's how the procedure was concluded. That's how it was concluded for the companies that delisted. They did not shut down per se, but they delisted on the stock exchange. Any other question, my colleagues? There's a question, I think someone, the potential investor. What about a student? What procedure are there to follow to start investing? As a student, you need to follow the same procedure. You need to open an account. They need the KYC documentation. I think if you are over 18, you should have a national ID because that's the only source of identification that is legit in Malawi. So you use your national ID. For those in diaspora, I think let me take this opportunity also to mention that in the event that you don't have a national ID, then you can use your passport. However, we've noted that even the NRB is also assisting on those in diaspora to have their national ID in place. So whenever your ID is out, national ID, then you can update with the bloggers. Can you get a statement of value of investment? Can one get a statement of value on investment? Yes, you can get that through your stock broker. When is the mining sector joining the Malawi Stock Exchange? The Malawi Stock Exchange is in touch with key stakeholders to have the mining companies listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange. And according to our rules, we already have in place the rules for companies that are in the mining sector. So the stock exchange is very ready to list any of the companies that are in the mining sector because we already have got the rules in place. How do you receive your dividend? The dividend is paid into your bank account. For those that bought shares at IPO, you might have provided your bank details. And for those that are buying in the secondary market through the stock brokers also, you see that whenever you're opening your account, there is a section where you're supposed to provide your bank details. So those bank details are shared with the companies that you're investing in, so that whenever they are paying a dividend, it's paid directly into your bank account. But for those that do not provide bank details, the dividend is paid in by post registered postal addresses. However, shareholders and the investing public, they are advised to update their records. They are both postal and the bank and provide bank details so that the dividend payments can be paid directly into their respective bank accounts. I don't know if we still have got any other question from Facebook. My colleagues will guide me. Yes, there's another question. Somebody saying, can you buy shares for a child? Yes, you can buy. Just like you can open a bank account for a child, you can also do the same for shares. There was a question on CSD access. As I said, they are working on a portal for the investing public, just the way we are working on the mobile trading application. The CSD team is also, once it has gone live, the investing public is going to be notified. However, in the meantime, the bloggers will be able to assist you with a statement. I think we should be running out of time. If there are any other burning questions, we can take 3 more. My colleagues assist. I've seen 3 hands have been raised. For those that raise their hands, if you could type your question or comment. Okay, there's someone else asking on behalf of a colleague that is very encouraged and saying someone bought some shares in DNM through National Bank. How can they know the status? Please provide us with the name so that we can follow up. There's what's the name? My colleague, if you could assist with the name. You're asking about you have got someone you know who bought DNM shares. Rachel, you're asking on behalf of your colleague who bought TNM shares through National Bank. Please provide us the name of your colleague so that we can follow through, and then the contact so that we can be able to provide the feedback. The app, there's a question when the app is coming up. I can only respond about the app, the mobile trading application, because that's the one that is within our powers. That one, by this year, and you'll be notified. We'll make a lot of noise. Starting with social media, we'll be all over. We can take one more question. The child, just like you open an account with there is a question as well, a follow-up, I think. It's a follow-up on the account opening for a child or a minor. In terms of the KYC documentation, it will be the guardian or the parents' KYC documentation. But we know that the NRB is also issuing birth certificates, so you also need to attach that birth certificate, because that account, the majority of the KYC documentation will be that of the guardian or the parent, just the way we open with the bank accounts. There's another question by Titus Nkata. When you sell shares at a certain point in time, does one collect transaction instantly? If not, does the change in share price from the time of the sale to the time that one receives the cash affect the amount he gets from the transaction? Yeah, quite a very good question. When you sell your shares today, payment is effected within 3 business days, because the trade and settlement cycle on the Malawi Stock Exchange is T+3. If you trade today, settlement happens in 3 days. If there is any movement in the price, it does not affect the amount. It does not change in any way the amount that you expected to receive. For example, you sell your share today, you have 1 share, and the share price you have sold at 100 kwacha. You are entitled to receive 100 kwacha based on the number of shares that you have sold, and the share price moves to 2 kwacha. You will not receive 200 because the share price has moved from 100 to 200. You still receive your 100 kwacha, because the value is based on the price that you have sold the shares at. There's another one saying, I have shares. Is it Catrego? I have shares in TNM shares. I have shares in TNM, which I bought through National Bank, but I don't know what happened to them. Okay, we have seen your details. My colleagues have taken note. We'll check with the transfer secretaries, and then we'll be able to get back to you. Can you open a system account with different brokers? Yes, with all the brokers. And remember, all the stock broking accounts are free of charge. There's nothing like book balance. So you can have accounts with all the 3 stock broking firms. There's another one. I think if I buy shares worth 500 kwacha, am I supposed to continue paying? If you buy shares worth 500 kwacha, and you want to buy some more shares, then you need to deposit another money equivalent for the shares that you want to buy. I think that's how simple I can answer that one. As Malawi Stock Exchange, we don't have a branch in Lilongwe, but you can reach us through our social media handles, through email, through telephone, the contacts of which I think my colleagues are going to provide in the chat as well. If there is any burning question, for those that have raised their hands, please confirm if you have, lower questions have been put across in the chat room. Okay. There's a question about treasury bills. We did not mention about treasury bills because currently they are not trading on the Malawi Stock Exchange. However, for information purposes, the minimum that one can invest in treasury bills is 10,000. And in terms of agents that you can use to invest in the treasury bills, you can go through either your bank, you can go through any of the fund managers, or the very same bloggers, stock bloggers. But the treasury bills are currently not trading on the Malawi Stock Exchange. Okay, there's another question. I think Mr. Kenneth Kakongwe has brought a scenario saying, let's say you have deposited 10,000 to buy National Bank shares, which are going, and with the remaining 2,500 be used to buy shares. Whenever you want to buy shares, the brokers are going to give you a quote based on the amount that you have. Should there be a balance, like say example that he has given, that he just deposited and then he wants to buy National Bank, they'll be able to buy him National Bank with the amount. Any remaining sum can be used to buy any other shares that one wants to invest in, or alternatively, the brokers will be able to, if you get a quote, the quote will be precise on the number of shares. So in a scenario like this one, the brokers will remain with the 2,500 in your stock broking account, which you can use to buy any of the shares listed on the stock market, or you can request them to pay you back the balance, the remaining 2,500, as per the example that Mr. Kenneth provided there, the illustration. Shares readily available. I think on the treasury bills, as I mentioned, the minimum is 10,000 kwacha. However, they are not currently trading on the stock exchange. So you still go through the very same stock brokers when you want to buy the share, the treasury bills, or you can go through your bank, respective banks. Shares readily available on the market. Well, it depends. So for you to know if the shares are readily available, you can either go request from the brokers information. They should be able to tell you because they have got access to the market. Alternatively, is the daily stock news that is published on our website. That one is going to show you if there's somebody willing to sell, because it shows willing sellers price and willing buyers prices. Okay, if we can take one more question, and a prayer to those that raise their hands. Have you typed your question which has been attended to, or it hasn't been attended to? Please advise in the chat, in the Q&A section. There's a question, I think, why companies are not paying dividend. There is always a reason why companies are not paying dividends, and that is also made available to the shareholders. How long can one wait for shares to be bought after you have made a deposit? It depends on which company that you want to buy. That's what I think is the same like the other colleague was asking as to how long it takes in terms of buying and then whenever you have deposit money. So it depends on availability. Remember, I mentioned about supply and demand dynamics. So that one plays a key role. So the brokers should be able to tell you as to the availability of the shares in the market. All right. I think this session was about giving an overview. I've noted that there is a question on the interpretation of PE and the price to earnings and price to book value. From what I can recall, we don't post that on the Facebook page. I think you must have downloaded it from the website, because on our Facebook page, we only provide the summary of the trades where there is market capitalization, highest traded price, lowest, the closing. So the next session, we are going to demystify the daily stock news. That's where we're going to talk about. We're going to break down the ratios and what they mean. But for this session, this is what we had for you. Is there any possibility of improving the website of Malawi Stock Exchange? Some pages show coming soon. When you click on them, we have taken note of that. Mr. Gilbert Unyolo will look into it and ensure that anything that is appearing coming soon, the soon should be very soon. I noticed that on the MSC website, there are other markets like bond market. Why do you focus on shares only? The bonds market is there, and we have 103 bonds currently trading on the Malawi Stock Exchange. So in terms of presentation, I think last year we had a webinar on investing on bonds as well. However, we thought it wise not to combine investing in the bonds and investment on the shares. But in the subsequent webinars, we will be able now to break down the products and services that are being offered by the Malawi Stock Exchange. However, for your comfort, you can still access the video on the webinar, I think from our social media, Facebook and on YouTube as well. How long can one wait for shares to be bought after you have made a deposit? I think we have responded to that one already. So at this point, we would like to thank you all for joining in. And as Malawi Stock Exchange, be rest assured that there are subsequent webinars to follow from this one. So we be on the lookout, and then let's keep engaging either through our first social media handle or our direct lines. Thank you for your time and have a lovely day.